Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
What is this? No American press allowed to report on our border situation? Gag orders from the White House? Welcome to the new Biden socialist America, and it's going to get worse. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America. Followed by a patriot to call in with our Pledge of Allegiance. Come on, call in. Good morning. And a good morning to you and yours. Zeb at the Ranch, I'm Zeb Bell, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, serving you with the best of tires and, of course, the best in service. Stop in and see them today. Also, a big shout-out goes to Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, let's go to the phone line and have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it. And right now we're going to skedaddle to the weather, and the weather brought to you by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 West of Hayburn, right smack dab on the Burley-Paul Highway. You can't miss them, and you shouldn't, because they've got all the best tools and equipment to finish any kind of a job, any kind of a construction project. And springtime, they've got all the tools you need to get the yard all ship shape and ready to look good. Stop in. Give them a call, 678-3122, K&R Rental. And right now, here's Gina with the forecast.
Chance of precipitation off and on as we make our way through this work week. And here is a look at your weather forecast for today. We are expecting partly to mostly cloudy skies. It's going to be a breezy as well. Winds out of the south-southwest at about 5 miles an hour. Should gust as high as 25 miles an hour. And we are expecting a high close to 47. Tonight, 20% chance of rain and or snow showers, mostly in the early morning hours, increasing clouds, expecting a low of 29. Now, look at your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina. I appreciate it. And the weather, of course, brought to you by our friends that get to their office early in the morning. K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 West of Hayburn. Roger and the crew, they've got all the tools and equipment for both long and short-term rental. Don't forget to give them a call or stop in. They can help you with all the tools you need. K&R Rental. Want to also give a great big thank you to these folks, Daryl's Cleaners. Man, oh man, you take your clothes in there and they come back looking like brand spanking new. I had a circumstance happen. I took some shirts in there not too long ago, and I didn't even remember some of the shirts I took in, and my goodness, they look like they just came off the rack at the store. They are good at what they do in keeping your clothes looking great. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley, and I really suggest you stop in and see them today. Kevin and Cindy, really, really good folks at Daryl's Cleaners. Caller, I'll be right there. I just want to remind everybody, too, about our friends over at Ramsey Heating and Electric. They also get there early in the morning at about 7:30. Stay there till 5, Monday through Friday. They've got all your heating, cooling, and electrical needs. Now, right now, boy, it was a little chilly yesterday. It's not time to turn off the furnace yet, I can guarantee you that. But they are saying, hey, get ready for spring and summer when we've got all the filters for your air conditioning units and everything. I know I sound a little bit premature on that, but it's a-coming. All your heating, cooling, and electrical needs by the folks that really, really know and can provide warm winters and cool summers. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Good morning to you, caller.
Well, good morning to you, too. You know, yesterday was supposed to be the first day of spring, but they must be mistaken.
It was cold.
Doug Martin is still wearing his long pants.
Well, let's not go into that first thing this morning. I mean, that's a visual I can do without. But go ahead. What's on your mind this morning?
The border. There is a crisis at the border. But the present administration does not concede to that fact that there is a crisis. But if you do call it a crisis, then it was Trump's fault.
Yeah. I'm just going to say this, Keith, I'm just going to say this simply and very bluntly. The Biden administration is comprised of a group of liars. They are liars, charlatans, and they are fraud in what they're putting out in front of the American public. This is a mess, and anybody that doesn't think it is naive, and I'm just going to be very blunt, stupid. And to blame Donald Trump. Let me ask you a quick question, Keith, and you're pretty doggone observant about the news. Let's go back to last December. Last December, was there a border crisis like this while Trump was in office?
Absolutely not. It was the most secure border we have ever known.
Well, that's my point. I mean, I've talked to quite a few people down in that area, and they're just taken and about ready to rip their hair out. And this guy that is supposed to be the head of the Department of Homeland Security, this Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, is nothing more than a blatant liar. And I'm just going to call him as I see it.
Well, that's absolutely true. But, you know, we're supposed to have freedom of the press.
Mm-hmm.
It's not so down there on the border because none of these reporters are allowed in there to take pictures of these doggone kids that are prisoners in those boxcars that they call an apartment or whatever they want to call it. They have to take turns sleeping on the floor.
I have never in all my life seen such a ridiculous smothering of the free press. And on the other hand, most of the media in this country is in bed with the Democrats and aiding and abetting a non-coverage to the American public. We are in trouble. We are in definite trouble, Keith, because our press is being stymied, and this administration is nothing more than evil and socialistic for what they're doing.
That's absolutely right. But it is the press that is causing the problems because they cannot report it correctly.
Yeah. I agree with you. And boy, I'm telling you, to get me started this way, you're right. I mean, this guy, this Alejandro Mayorkas, denied that there's a media gag order. And reporters for Fox News, there was a young man on this morning of Mexican descent, and he works for Fox News, and he said they wouldn't even let him get close to the border. They wouldn't even let him have a camera. They told him he had to go away. They issued him a kind of a get lost, bud, you're not coming in here attitude. And if that's not a gag order on the border and not cover up from the Biden administration, please tell me what it is.
Well, they report what they want to report. We don't even know whether President Biden made it to the top of the stairs.
Well,
They're not going to show that.
yeah, it's don't get me started. You did get me started, so we're going to continue. Hey, Keith, God bless you, man. I got another one waiting. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Caller number 2, please bear with me just a moment. I'll be right with you. I want to remind everybody about Denny's, America's Diner, Denny's restaurant. Now, it is true. I still keep getting calls, people saying, are you April fooling us, or are you really going to have lunch bunch on April 1st, Thursday? Yes, it is a true statement. We're going to reinvigorate lunch bunch. I don't care what anybody says. We got to get back to life. We've got to get back to liking and loving each other and treating each other with respect. We're going to have lunch bunch at Denny's restaurant, America's Diner, at 611 North Overland in Burley on Thursday, April 1st. Yes, it's April Fool's Day. We're going to have fun with it, and we're looking forward to having you come on in. Served by great people at Denny's restaurant and super menu choices. America's Diner, Denny's restaurant, and we'll see you there on April 1st. Want to also give a great big shout out to a guy that is absolutely dedicated to the best of camper shells for your pickups, and that's of course Anthony over at Save on Shells. I mean, this guy has got well over 90 different campers shells right there on the lot, and if he doesn't have one that'll match up with your paint job, hey, he can order them for you. He's got the best too. ARE camper shells. They are the best. I know because I've had 2 of them, and I'll guarantee you, you're going to be satisfied with the service. This man is really good. Anthony at 312-1525. Save on Shells at 1827 Overland in Burley. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm good, sir. What can I do for you?
Well, I saw something that we hate to see this morning. I was at my favorite feed store and talking to the lady, and another lady come out of the back, and she checked the pumps, and nobody was pumping, and she took her clicker out of her pocket and flipped it at the sign, and gas prices went from $2.99 to $3.08 right before my eyes.
I am so afraid as to what's happening in this country, and all I can tell you is, sir, that the American public, they don't care. The administration doesn't care. And Sean, we got a little bit of feedback here. Help me out if you can. But this is going to go much higher. It's going to devastate people's incomes. And as far as any tax refunds or any money from the government on the PPE, et cetera, all that money is going to go back into the gas tank and diesel tanks of people trying to make a living. And it's absolutely insidious.
Well, that's what I said. By the time summer vacation rolls around, it'll be up to $3.75, $4 a gallon. But, you know, the time, it always goes up in the summertime anyway, but the way it's going up now, it's going to be crazy.
Well, and not only that, but here we've gone through this terrible COVID mess. And to think that businesses were just barely able to hang on by the skin of their teeth, and now they're trying to fight back and get back in shape again, and now people can't afford to hardly drive to the business and give those people their business because it's all going in the gas tank. This government, this administration needs a good slap in the face as a wake-up call. I've had it with the stupidity of the Biden administration.
Well, you know, the other day on my Facebook, I put, okay, all you people that hated Trump and kept putting Trump down, because I found out I got lots of Democrats on my Facebook page. I put, and I actually wrote this. I put, will you list me 3 things that Biden has done that you think so great? Guess what? I didn't get one reply. And after that, I thought, if they say anything more about Trump, I'm going to just lower the level on them.
Amen. Amen. Thank you for your call this morning. I know you've called in before, and I always appreciate hearing from you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Well, I'm getting ready to go by your house. I'm going to check on that stair in your front yard.
Okay. He still isn't moving, I'll tell you that. Hey, thank you so much. Appreciate it. All right.
Well, he doesn't eat much either.
No, he's pretty easy keeper. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, sir. Hey, don't forget Dino Septic Service. Oh, when you've got trouble with your septic tank, there is a great number, or 3 great numbers to call, and super service from Dino Septic Service people. I'll tell you what, septic tank pumping, septic tanks and drains fields installed, water and sewer lines installed, sewer and sink drain lines cleaned, all of this and more with people that have the latest of equipment to serve you and take care of any problems. Dino Septic Service. Call them at 436-6526 or 678-1638 in Twin 735-8281. They are the best with a big truck that says smells cargo on the way. Dino's Septic Service. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to read you a little bit of a paragraph that was sent to me about this Mayorkas, this sleazy little man that's the head of the Department of Homeland Security. And he was asked by NBC's Chuck Todd about the gag orders on the border, and he said, listen to this and read between the lines. Mayorkas said they are also working on providing access so the American public can see what is going on. But he didn't provide details as to how. And when he was asked what that meant by Todd, Mayorkas said, oh, there's no gag order. No, that's absolutely false. But we're going to be preparing video of the area to supply to the media. Now, right there, folksies, that ought to tell you something that should make your skin crawl. Oh, the government is going to provide media the video of what's going on. Why, that ought to be peaches and cream and strawberry fields forever. Don't trust the administration. And when they start telling media, no, you can't come, but we'll supply you the information, that's when everybody should run to the border with their cameras and absolutely demand that they gain access. This is nothing more than a socialistic Gestapo. And I don't care who's offended by that. It's the truth. The media is absolutely not being allowed to know the truth, which means we don't know the truth. And that is extremely evil. They've put gag orders on the media. This isn't Russia or China or Cuba. This is the United States of America, where we're all supposed to know what's going on. But this administration, sleazy as it is, has stopped it. And they've also stymied any reports from the Border Patrol or ICE. They're putting the hammer down on the people that are on the ladder of command and saying, thou shalt not do this, thou shalt not do that. And there are people on the border right now, citizens of this United States of America. I said this last week and I verified it over the weekend, that are absolutely afraid to step out their doors and run their ranches and take care of their chores without strapping on a gun and leaving, of course, protection in the house for the wife and the kids. There's been property damage and threats to our citizens, and what's being done to protect them? Not one doggone thing. Nothing. And then here is the real ripple in the water this morning. Sunday morning, I received an email yesterday that the Biden administration, hang on to your resistol when I tell you this one, the Biden administration is using our tax money to house illegal aliens in hotels here in the United States. And to the tune of, they've already allocated over $86 million. Hold on to the reins there, Melvin. Think about this. We've got homeless Americans. We've got people that are trying to figure out how to rob Peter to pay Paul to stay afloat and buy their groceries and their kids' shoes. And the Biden administration is using our tax money to house illegal aliens in hotels. with over $86 million. You know, I got to go to a quote that was in the book about the late, great football coach, Vince Lombardi. And it came to mind when I was listening to this garbage yesterday on the news. But in a game the Packers were playing against against the Chicago Bears, the Packers were absolutely falling apart. And there was a part, and it's on film, and it's been in one of the commercials for the NFL. Vince Lombardi called a timeout, and he stepped out on the field, and he simply said, "What the hell is going on around here?" And that's exactly what's going on in this country today. What is going on around here? Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. I just had to bring this up. Our National Guard people are still sleeping on the cement floors while they're putting these other people up in luxury hotels.
I'm laughing in a very cynical manner because everything you said is exactly right. Keith, I do not understand. Please, now, you're a little older than I am, but please explain to me in very simple English, where is the sanity? Where is the public outcry against this insanity? I mean, what's going on here? Why aren't the American public just absolutely storming down Pennsylvania Avenue and telling Biden to get out of Dodge? This is ridiculous.
You know, it's as ridiculous as that one executive order that President Biden signed, and that was to give me more money on my Social Security than to give you, merely because I have been drawing it for 20 years. That entitles me to more money than you get.
All I can say is that here we have a homeless problem in this country. We've got people that, due to the COVID, they have absolutely lost their businesses, perhaps haven't been able to pay for their mortgage. Their kids have not been allowed in school. And the Biden administration is taking illegal aliens, not people that belong to this country whatsoever. They are illegally here, and they're alien to this country, and putting them up in fancy hotels and motels and paying the bill of over $86 million of your money and my money. Keith, this is absolutely nuts.
Yeah, you know what's really a tragedy? Because South Dakota has been so successful at what they're doing, they're punishing them because they're shut down all their federal lands, the drilling and everything. That's literally shut that state down.
Yeah, well, you're changing subjects there. I know they're somewhat related, but I'm not going to talk about that right now. This illegal alien problem and the absolutely storming of our what used to be borders and now it's just open country, let everybody in, is absolutely asinine. Thank you, Keith. I do appreciate it. Thank you. I want to remind everybody about Ritter's Showcase at 2611 Overland Avenue in Burley. They're having their big March Madness. What does that mean? They've got prizes and low prices. Holy cow, you can get in and register for over $6,000 of prizes, and they're going to have the drawings on the 27th of March. Woo! You can get mattresses now, special deluxe queen mattress just starting at $4.99. They've got all the Whirlpool, Amana, Maytag, KitchenAid appliances. Great buys. You better stop in. Super selection of freezers. It's March Madness time at Ritter's Showcase, 2611 Overland in Burley. You stop in and see those great folks today. I'm going to give away some cookies real quick before I get so mad I can't do it. We're going to give away the cookies to Sophie's Chatterbox at 530 East Street in Rupert on the square. And, of course, great restaurant, fantastic bakery. You know that. And if you're the lucky winner of the cookies, just call them and let them know when you'll be in for your cookies, okay? Easy question today. Well, I think fairly easy because of this man's notoriety and how famous he was and everything. What university, this is an easy one, what university did the great Michael Jordan play basketball for in his college career? What university did the great Michael Jordan play for in college? First person to call, 436-2244 or 1-866-927-4587 will be the cookie winner. Come on, quickly give me a call at 436-2244. Cookies, that sounds good right now, doesn't it? Something to munch on. I've been on a self-imposed diet, and believe me, that does sound really, really good. Come on, quickly call. What university did the great Michael Jordan play for in his college basketball career? Let's see if this man's got it or this lady. Good morning, you're on the air.
Yes, it's North Carolina.
And who is this?
This is your good friend, Eddie DeNoggle.
Eddie DeNoggle, and you are one of my best friends, and I really appreciate your giving a call. The answer is correct. It was North Carolina, and they are not seeing the great days they did when he was in school, but I'll tell you what, you're right. University of North Carolina, Eddie DeNoggle, call over there and tell him you're coming for your cookies.
Thank you, and see you at Lunch Bunch.
I'm looking forward to it, old buddy. Take care.
Bye.
All right, thank you very much. Eddie DeNoggle, him and his lovely wife, we really appreciate them. Part of our lunch bunch. Appreciate that very much. All right, calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. What about state attorney generals? Now, this opens up another vein of thought that needs to be pursued. The Biden administration is letting these illegal aliens cross the border, and they're literally going all over the place. They might end up in Arkansas. They might end up in Sikeston, Missouri. They might end up in Bismarck. They might end up in Boise. They might end up anywhere in the country. And the state attorney general for Florida, we talked about this last week, is suing the Biden administration because all these communities, why are they going to be held hostage in taking care of these people? And also worrying about the influx of people coming into their area with a resurgence of the COVID-19. It was estimated, over the weekend I saw this story, that approximately 10% of the thousands upon thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people that are trying to infiltrate our border are COVID positive. And they're coming into this country and creating a resurgence of something that we are trying to do away with. Now, we're told we can't go anywhere without a mask. And little bitty Anthony Fauci says, well, now I think you ought to consider wearing 2 or 3 masks. Well, the COVID won't kill you, but the lack of oxygen will. And even if you've had your shots, well, you still better wear a mask and social distance. Oh, yeah, we're watching you. But yet they turn loose upon our society all these people that are illegal aliens from South and Central America, some from Romania, some even coming in from China. And they turn them loose, and they're COVID positive. Somebody help me on this, because I just do not understand how this administration can be this damn dumb. Number to call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Please give me a call. But, you know, we're sitting in a la-la land to where we should absolutely be demanding that this mess get cleaned up. And like with the state attorney generals, Wasden, what are you going to do about this? I tried to call and left my name up there at the office, and I asked for a response. Crickets. Absolute crickets. Now, I'm going to try again today and see if I get anybody to respond from Wasden's office. And I will let you know what the circumstances are that prevail over my phone call tomorrow. If he will come on the air, I will ask him, are you considering a lawsuit against the Biden administration for all the illegals going helter-skelter all across this country, many of which are going to be coming right here? We'll see what he has to say. If we get a chance to talk to him. Barry Equipment and Rental, sales, service, and parts, 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, along with 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, and the Nampa location. You know, they have got the most competitive rental rates and, of course, the greatest financing programs if you're wanting to buy. Holy smokes on everything, the Doosan wheel loaders and excavators and all the Bobcats and all the trenchers and all the scissor lifts. Wow. To get the job done of lifting and digging and pushing and carrying, all of this with the people that really understand how to help you. And that's, of course, Barry Equipment and Rental in Burley, Twin Falls, and Nampa. You stop in and see those good folks today. Thank you. All right, come on, don't weaken on me. It's time for you to get on the phone and give me a jingle. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I need something else explained to me this morning, though. What happened in Atlanta, Georgia last week with the horrific and absolutely so sad shootings that this one man decided to perpetrate upon members that were working at massage parlors in the greater Atlanta area. And even the killer, when interrogated, said it had nothing to do with any racism, whatever. This young, very demented man said that he had a sexual addiction and he was trying to get rid of these places, and he just walked in and started shooting. I'm paraphrasing, of course. But there was nothing said about shooting, in particular, anyone of Asian descent. But now, and the police even had agreed with that statement after they had interrogated this young man. But please tell me why. And jumping to conclusions, the Biden administration and the Vice President, Harris, coming out and turning this into a racism activity and saying that all Asians, we've got to be more protective of them, and we've got to make sure that there's no more anti-hate speech against Asians, and Biden saying we've got to fly the flag at half-staff for the Asians that were killed in this country. Wait a minute. What about flying the flag at half-staff for all of our police officers that have been killed? What about flying the flag at half-staff for anybody else that suffered and was grievously injured and or killed during the riots in Seattle, Portland, Chicago, etc.? But all of a sudden, this administration wants to turn it into nothing but racism. Nothing but racism and a protection for Asians. Now, let's be blunt. Let's be really blunt. If you don't like this, I don't care. I'm going to be very honest about it. Hunter Biden, with his connections to China, big money connections. Joe Biden and his brother with connections to China, big money connections. And the downplaying of anything against the Chinese or Asian people. And it seems to me like they are just trying to feather the nest and make it much easier and palatable for the Chinese to accept. Something's wrong here. Something is really wrong. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. Well, our mainstream media is so Marxist-oriented. You know, they're going to cover everything from that standpoint. Anything that's pro-American, pro-constitutional, they're going to denigrate. And we've been seeing this for so long. The New York Times has been leading the pack for decades. And we just have to realize you can't rely on that. But talking about cover-up, I mean, here you got Biden's, both of them have gotten, the protection candidate protection program, and Hunter has got these ties with China, and and Biden wants to denigrate, put down Putin. I like to see that debate. I'll tell you, Putin would mop the floor with him for sure. Biden can't even make it up the stairs of Air Force One.
Hold on a second, Adrian. Right there, I want you to stop because I want to make a point, and I want you to go back to it. I am not going to denigrate, and I know you wouldn't either because you're too much of a gentleman, but I'm not going to denigrate Biden for his lack of physical ability in climbing stairs. Anyone, including myself, can have a slip and fall down the stairs, try to get up and slip and fall again. But I think what it's showing is that this man's mental capacity and physical being is way beyond the test of standing up to be a president that can be respected and revered by the rest of the world. He has been past his time, and now it's nothing but hurting him as far as gaining any respect from here in the United States or anywhere else in the world.
Well, his gaffes on a continual basis, it shows he doesn't have the mental capacity to
That's
be
right.
the leader of the free world.
That's right.
And look at the China-U.S. meeting this last week. I believe this was it Blinken. Was he run against Larry Craig, here, Senator Craig, a few years ago? I think it's the same one.
Yeah, I believe it was.
He ran for Senate, if I remember right. But, I mean, the Chinese just ate his lunch. And everything he said, they don't even talk about, they want to talk about human rights problems over here while they just slaughter millions of people over there. And it's just sad that we've reached this point, Zeb, that we don't really have a leader of the free people, and his replacement, I don't think Kamala Harris will be running the show either. I think Barack Obama is still running the show behind the scenes.
Well,
certainly not Biden.
No, you're 100% right, and I'll go and stand up in front of anybody. I'll give you the chain of command as it is right now. And the chain of command is Susan Rice, then Barack Obama. That's exactly what's happening, and they're feeding all the puppets, whether it's Biden or Harris, the information as to what they want put out in front of the American public. I'll stand behind that.
I think you're exactly right. I believe that's exactly what's going on. And so we realize, Barack Obama is the first president to not move out of Washington, D.C. and have a home someplace else. He's still there.
Yeah.
And has a big home, and it's like a compound, really. You can't get close to the place, from what I understand. So he's really involved in this thing, and he's scary because of his attitude. He's helped the Iranians. He says he's a Christian, but he's actually a Muslim, and believes in Islam, and, of course, they want to rule the world, and that's exactly the way they're moving with all this stuff that's happening in our country.
I agree. I got to run and do a weather forecast, but again, you brought us some excellent points, Adrian, like you always do. Appreciate it, my dear friend. Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a cool one, but it's March.
All right.
So, anyway, it could be worse. Could wake up to snow this morning.
Absolutely.
So,
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Well, we were headed over Saturday to Wick Steak Place and Burnout Saloon. Well, we got sidetracked, and we had some guests and everything, and I didn't get a chance to go over, and I feel bad. Oh, I was looking forward to it. Wick Steak Place and Burnout Saloon at 18 East Main Street in Declo. Oh, you'd better go over. They're open Wednesday through Saturdays for the closing time, and I'm telling you, whether you want just a burger or if you want a steak dinner or a prime rib dinner or lobster or chicken or ribs. Oh, it's fantastic eating. I've been there. It's good. You're going to enjoy it. All your friends are there at Wick Steak Place and Burnout Saloon, 18 East Main Street in Declo. Stop over and see Kim and the crew this week. Time for the weather. And this weather, for now being spring, a little gnarly out there. Our weather brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Oh, my goodness sakes, you want to take care of your hearing health. And they can and they will help you. Absolutely. They're right behind the Minidoka County Hospital across from the emergency room. And the number to call and make an appointment, 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, customized help to your individual needs at Mount Harrison Audiology. And right now, here's Gina with the forecast.
Chance of precipitation off and on as we make our way through this work week. And here is a look at your weather forecast for today. We are expecting partly to mostly cloudy skies. It's going to be a breezy as well. Winds out of the south-southwest at about 5 miles an hour. Should gust as high as 25 miles an hour. And we are expecting a high close to 47. Tonight, 20% chance of rain and or snow showers, mostly in the early morning hours, increasing clouds. Expecting a low of 29. That's what's your weather for Zebba Duran.
Thank you very much, Gina. Appreciate it. And brought to everybody by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And they can and will help you with your hearing problems. Don't put it off, please. If you're noticing a lessening of hearing, time to get a hold of them. They can help you so you don't miss anything. The number to call, 312-0957. 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. This Thursday, this week, supposedly will be the first news and or / press conference that Joe Biden is going to hold as President of the United States. Now, I still think that something is going to happen to change the actual structure of this press conference. I do. I believe that they are going to shelter Joe somehow from any questions and any reporters that will possibly put him to where he's got to put his thinking cap on and respond to their questions with his own thought-filled answers. I honestly think we're going to see a pushing of another podium up next to his, and it will be with Kamala Harris. And I think we'll see a deflection of some of the questions go directly to her for the response. I could be 100% wrong, and if I am, I will apologize. But I think there's going to be too much of a protective blanket put around Biden's lack of ability to answer anything in a straightforward manner. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. You're probably correct on that, but I got to correct you on something you said a minute ago. It's the climate change, not the weather report. It's the climate change report, because if you wake up in the morning and the sun's shining and it's nice outside, in the afternoon it's snowing and blowing and whatnot, climate changed.
All right, I will take your correction. I will hang my head in humble shame, but I will say this. When you see the cooler temperatures and you follow the snow across the Great Plains and you see all the storms and everything, and these absolute idiots that are part of this climate change movement, and they want to make the climate cooler? Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Well, unless we got to cut down on CO2. And what are we going to have? Dead plants.
Yes. And no agriculture.
Exactly. Talk about idiots.
Yeah. I'm so glad that you have called and corrected me, because I feel like now I can raise my chin up off my chest and meet the world with a great big face of a smile on my face. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and go ahead and call it the weather. I don't care.
Thank you very much for your call. God bless you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I love that lady. She's nice. Very nice lady. But anyway, what are your thoughts on the press conference? I think it's going to be screened. I think it's going to be regulated. I think it's going to be very, very subdued, if you will. Mr. Biden, what about your son Hunter and the money that your family has ascertained from communist China? Blank. That isn't going to happen. What about the gag order on the border? Blank. That's not going to happen. I just honestly think, and again, I could be 100% wrong, But I think when it comes to an open press conference of really laying the cards on the table face up, like the press just loved to do to Donald Trump, man, or any of his people, Kayleigh McEnany or anybody else, they just loved to grill him with every tough question they could. I don't think we're going to see that any way, shape, or form in this so-called press conference Thursday with Biden. And I still kind of have an inkling that something's going to change or something's going to happen to where all of a sudden Joe, he might have a cold. And the press conference will be shifted to either Kamala Harris or it'll be canceled altogether. I just don't trust what's going on. Your thoughts, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. There was something happening this weekend, though, that was good for all of us. Now, whether you're a basketball fan or not, all of us needed something to get our attention off all the negative and turn it on to something positive. And I got to tell you, I have long been a great supporter of college basketball. Pro basketball, I'm not even going to turn it on, especially with the likes of LeBron James and the rest of these crazy wackos that are making so much money they can't ever spend it. But college basketball, the intent and purpose is for the team and for the quest of a championship. And I tell you what, there were some exciting games. Wow. And some major upsets. Some of the schools that barely made it into the NCAA tournament. I mean, barely by the skin of their teeth. Knocked off some of the big schools that absolutely came in with a swagger and thought, oh, these little people, we can defeat them. And some of those schools, like Ohio State and others, are on their way home this morning. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. While I'm waiting for your call, I also want to remind you about a really big spring tire sale that's going on right now at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations. Doesn't make any difference where you go to any one of the 7 locations. They're having a great big spring tire sale. All the tires, all the tread design, all the sizes for all the vehicles, and save money and drive carefully. Absolutely. They really care. And besides that, they've got the very best in brake service. You better make sure your brakes are in really good working order, and front end alignment, shocks and struts and batteries. But above all, they really provide the best in service. Yep. James and Buell, Dan on Pole Line in Twin Falls, Lane and Rupert, Mike and Jerome, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, the Twist family in Paul, and my buddy Trent on Overland in Burley. The best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. You stop in and see them today. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Zeb, you know who Durham is, John Durham?
Absolutely.
Special prosecutor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, have you seen his latest video report?
I have not seen the video report. I've heard a little bit about it. Quickly, give us your take on it.
Well, all I wanted to do is, this is what he said. Apparently, John Durham has free reign to do what he needs to do.
Right.
And Merrick Garland can't stop him, and the Biden administration can't stop him. Because this is what he said yesterday, or whatever day, Saturday, whatever. He said, we're still working.
Yep.
And he says, the job is monumental. And he says this, and it was to all of the patriots, all the people who want some justice. He said, yippee-ki-yay, happy hour's coming. And that can't mean that it would be good for the 32,000 emails from Hillary and whatever else he's going into. So, you know, we say justice for all when we pledge allegiance. And some days you go, well, I wonder when we're going to get our justice.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll get just a little.
You know, I am anxiously, and quite frankly, right here on my desk right now is a piece of paper that I've had taped to this desk for the last 6 months, and it simply says Durham Report. And I, like you, am anxious to see if justice is going to start to prevail and raise its head back in this country again so that we can right the wrongs and get back on the right track of morality and justice for the American people.
Well, maybe, let's face it, if we were to get some justice, it would lead straight to the presidency.
Yep.
His son, Joe Biden, and, of course, you know, I don't know if there's anything on Kamala Harris. Maybe, I don't know if we ended up with her. Of course, she's not going to run anything either, and he's not running anything. I can imagine what goes on behind the scenes at the Biden administration on how far they want to, you know, stick the foot in our mouth.
Yeah.
Stick our teeth in.
No, I'm...
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, no, you have a call coming. I was just going to...
Well, I do, but Randy, I absolutely am like you. Anytime I get a chance to find out more information as to what's going on and a possible release of any information from that report, I'm going to jump in and cancel everything else on this program and just feature that. Thank you so much for your call this morning. I appreciate it.
Bye.
God bless. Caller, I got 30 seconds. Go real fast. And that was the fastest 30 seconds I have ever seen. Coming up this next hour, I've got my dear friend Rick Manning, and he's back in the swamp in Washington. He's going to tell us all about what's going on. Frosty Woldridge at 9:30, going to be talking about this illegal alien situation, and nobody knows more about it than he does. Then at 10:06, we got the author of the Silver Manifesto, David Morgan, coming on the program. 10:32, Dog Days with Deb Hines. All of this coming up for the remainder of the morning on Zeb at the Ranch. Have a good day. We'll be back right after the news. Okay. Here we go, hour number 2 on a funny-looking day outside. Looks like it's snowing outside right now. Zeb at the Ranch, and, of course, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you with the best of tires and service. Along with our friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, this good word for Western Waste.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're all at the shore disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this free land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal.
Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. How do you get on the route service so once a week they can come by and pick up your garbage? Easy. Just call the number 734-6969. Get on the route service. Your garbage is gone. It's out of there. They are always at your disposal. Western Waste Services. You call today. Want to also give a great big shout out to some other great friends of ours on this program, and they have really served the families in this area for a long time. And that's Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. The number to call, 436-5636. When there is the passing of a loved one, please let them provide your family, like they do all families, the best possible support and comfort, and always upholding the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. Once again, Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert, 436-5636, with Joel Heward, his family, and his staff. And Joel also serving you and your family at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. One more quick note. Last week, of course, Deanna and I down there at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Boy, they're working on her knees and they're working on my knees. I'll tell you, getting us back into shape for the warmer weather. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. I'll tell you what, the greatest of physical therapists, and I mean that, the most knowledgeable, and they can help you get back to being you. What do? Call the number. Make an appointment, 678-1191. That number again, 678-1191. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. You get a hold of them today. Ladies and gentlemen, it goes without saying that when I want straight, honest opinions and facts about stories, this man has always come to the forefront and really helped us on Monday mornings. He's the president of Americans for Limited Government. Good morning, my dear friend Rick Manning. How are you?
I'm doing well, Zeb. How are you?
Well, I don't even know where to start this morning because there's so many things that I am concerned about, my listeners are concerned about, but let's go to the border. I have never in my life seen in just a little over 2 months such complete disaster and chaos as to what's happening with the border situation. We don't have a border down on the southern area of the United States, and these people are allowed, these people being the illegal aliens, allowed to come in. 10% they are estimating are going all over the United States now, and they are COVID positive. This whole thing is going to turn into another retroactive wreck with COVID and the insurgence of all these illegal aliens. What would you say to my statement to start off with this morning?
I think it's absolutely valid. We don't know how many have COVID because they're not being tested. And the fact is there's been no social distancing being practiced by caravans. They're not wearing masks. It's all the things that they are, that the Biden administration, the public health know-it-alls keep wanting to enforce against Americans, haven't been followed by the people who are coming across the border illegally. And there is no regime in place to test people who are actually even coming across and turning themselves in. So we've got it's a disaster in every way. The humanitarian disaster of it is that, what happened is very simple. When Joe Biden was elected, he and his team sent very strong messages that amnesty was on its way. Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer talked about amnesty. And every time you talk about amnesty, you're essentially saying to people who live in Mexico and the Northern Triangle countries, and around the world for that matter, that if you can get your foot across the border, you may have the golden ticket at Willy Wonka's factory. And and so people who live in desperately poor lives, and some with really bad intentions, but many who have desperately poor lives say, I have one shot at making my life better in any meaningful way, and that's to get across the border and get amnesty. So what do you expect to have happen? This is what happened under Obama. It's what's happening under Biden. And it's made dramatically worse by the fact that we are Americans are being essentially, in many states, still confined to their homes, or at least not allowed to fully exist and live their lives, out of some fear of COVID being passed around. And yet the Biden administration is not only allowing people across the border illegally without testing them, they are also transporting them around the country. There was a report over the weekend or on Friday that they were planning on loading people on airplanes and pushing them up to northern states. So it's effectively, we're looking at a federal government effort to spread people around the country who, quite honestly, are going to work against the very aspect of being able to end this disease in this country. It makes no sense under any policy standpoint, unless your policy is you want COVID infections to spike, you want the disease to continue spiking, you want to fundamentally transform America while Americans are trapped at home by bringing people in from around the country who and have them occupy the spaces that Americans no longer travel to.
Rick, when I look at this situation on the southern border, and I've had a chance over the last week since we talked last to call a lot of my friends that I know that ranch and live on the border, whether it's in Arizona or Texas, and I listen to their stories about being so afraid to step outside their house in the morning without having themselves armed to the hilt with a .357 or carrying a Winchester, and making sure that in the house the wife with the kids also has protection. And then we hear about Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas saying, oh, well, the media is not on a gag order. They can report whatever they want to. And I know that's a damn lie, because I know some of the people in the media that I've talked to are not allowed to go down and film and or report. What's going on with this administration? This isn't the America that I grew up in.
Well, Zeb, remember, this is the same group of people who have said that America is bad. It's so bad that everybody else in the world wants to move here, but have basically been attacking America from throughout the last election, and so they are trying to fundamentally transform America by changing the demographic makeups of the country. That's what they're trying to do. There's no other way to put it. And Mayorkas should never have been confirmed. It was I think, a monumental mistake to put somebody in who doesn't believe in borders, A, and B. When he was in the Obama administration, he had a number of complaints against him. In fact, the Inspector General talked about how he was giving contracts out to all of his friends illegally. Mm-hmm. And yet, this is the guy who got promoted to the DHS secretary position, and the Senate Republicans rolled over and confirmed him. He's uniquely wrong for the job, and it's a disaster. But I want to go to one piece of this that's being lost in it, but it's still true. Okay, we spend a lot of time talking about human trafficking. We spend a lot of time talking about child and slave labor in the Far East and in China and the like, and I'm every bit as outraged about that as I have been in the past. But this is human trafficking. We are witnessing human trafficking. We are enabling human trafficking. We are creating an environment where human trafficking thrives based upon the border policies. And to expand it beyond the border crisis as it exists today, there was a case this weekend, or I guess last week, when a person went in and went into 3 different massage parlors and killed a bunch of people. Killed 8 people, 6 of whom were Asian. And the big story that's missed there, everybody wants to say that this is an anti-Asian attack. The big story that's missed is that those were sex workers who had been more than likely illegally brought in, this human trafficked into the United States.
That's right.
And this individual who went in and killed them was had some kind of sex addiction, was off their rocker and blamed the people, the prostitutes, for that, and went on a killing spree. And it had nothing to do with Asians, but by trying to minimize that and talk about it in terms of race, what they're really doing is they're covering up the real story. The real story is human trafficking brings people here who are then abused in our country. And when we don't have secure borders, when we don't protect our borders, we enable that to occur and to multiply. And it isn't those women's fault who were human trafficked and brought here. It wasn't their fault. It's not why it's not their fault that they got killed. I'm not doing that. We have created a system. We have allowed a system through our open borders that allow predators, human traffickers, to bring people here and abuse them. And under the bright lights of our country, it is immoral, it is illegal, it is wrong, and what we are seeing from the left is a complete whitewash of that, because they don't want America to wake up and understand what's really happening. And so while we look south of the border crisis is a disaster. What we saw in Atlanta was the result of our failure to enforce our borders, because that's the kind of work girls get put into when they're trafficked across this border. And that's the truth that's not being told, and it is the truth that needs to be told.
Amen. Amen. Rick, we have a caller with a comment or question, and then I want to follow up on what you just stated. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. Wouldn't it be feasible to set up a tent city south of the border, which would be in Mexican territory, and keep these people from flooding in our place?
Okay, I'll have Rick respond, please.
That's exactly what President Trump did, and which Joe Biden dismantled in the first week of his presidency. But yes, it's feasible because we did it. We did it in coordination with the Mexican government, and so people came if they had legitimate claims in terms of amnesty, they were taken care of by the Mexican government, and were, as the law states, were dealt with by the first country that they came into that could grant them amnesty, which is what the deal was that President Trump made with the Mexican president. So what you described is exactly what President Trump set up, and it's exactly what Joe Biden dismantled.
Rick, let me ask you this, and I might have asked you this last week, but over the last 7 days, I've got to thinking more and more about what we, the people, can do. What would be the power of all states' attorney generals, like what happened in Florida, Indiana, Texas, etc., of saying to the Biden administration, okay, if you're going to let this prevail and people are going to be coming in and going to our communities on the citizens' dime, we're going to sue the Biden administration. What about all 50 AGs getting together and suing the Biden administration and putting some power back to the states of we don't want this illegal, illicit immigration happening anymore? Is there anything to that?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of lawsuits that are possible. One is a lawsuit that would be border states. You'd probably only get Arizona and Texas on it right now, but border states saying trying to force the Biden administration to enforce the laws. We've already seen that the catch and release policy, which they're doing anyway, but some of the policies that Biden's tried to implement on the border, the state of Texas is suing against. They've got an injunction against some of those things from occurring. The courts are a viable outlet. The challenge we have is a court case that occurred dealing with Arizona maybe 12, 15 years ago. I guess it was during the Obama administration, where the state of Arizona was enforcing the federal immigration laws while the federal government was refusing to. The federal government brought suit against Arizona. Arizona fought it, and in the Supreme Court, it was decided that Arizona didn't have a right to enforce the federal laws if the federal government chose not to. Effectively, the Supreme Court in that decision negated federal laws and federal immigration laws and put states at the mercy of the federal government and their willingness to enforce the law. Further, the federal government, the court found in a case dealing with whether or not sanctuary cities could be defunded, they found that the Justice Department could not defund sanctuary cities based upon the fact they weren't providing the support services that the federal government expected them to provide related to enforcing immigration laws. So there's two Supreme Court decisions that are within the last 15 years. I'm not an attorney, so I have to be very careful how I couch this, that appear to be exactly opposite of what we would want them to be in terms of states being able to have some primacy in this area. However, it's a different court now. There are three new members from when those two court cases came across. And so we don't know how today's court would respond to it with today's crisis. But it is but the near-term precedent that has been set is not good from the Supreme Court in terms of states having the ability to control the borders.
Rick, I know this is speculation when I ask this, but we are being told that the first press conference with Biden will take place this Thursday. In the first hour, I came out and I said that I think there's going to be some manipulative means and methods applied to this press conference to where maybe Joe won't be the only one on stage answering any questions. Maybe there'll be another podium right next to him with Kamala Harris. Maybe there'll be a deflection of some questions. If he can't answer, she'll jump in and take over. What are your thoughts about this first press conference and really what might or might not take place?
Well, I would not be surprised if he was in the press conference if he wasn't introducing somebody who was an expert in some area, probably talking about COVID. And if he didn't have a Fauci or somebody like that up there who would answer questions that were specifically on that topic, and somebody else available to talk about other things. So the way you could do a press conference is you can give a statement, and the statement could be 20 minutes long. And then the press portion, the press availability of the press conference could be, 10 minutes. It could, it'd be a press conference per se, but, you'd only have 2 questions. And that's it's not traditionally the way press conferences are done, but there's lots of ways as a professional standpoint to try to protect Biden from actually having to engage in back and forth, and one of them is exactly what you described. It's have somebody else out there to say something provocative to draw the press questions, and then Biden takes one or two very short answers and gets out. I think it's reasonable to assume that he will have something in his ear helping him. I think that's reasonable to assume. Modern technology, makes that possible. I remember that Angela Lansbury, when she was on stage, and she was 94, she was on stage in London, and she had an earpiece that had her lines read to her, and she was doing it that way. And people complained, and she said, "Listen, I'm 94. I'm not going to be the same way I was, 20, 30 years ago. And, you came to see me. Well, this is what you get. This is me." And so it wouldn't surprise me if that tactic isn't used. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if you saw the video of the president apparently not being able to figure out where Marine One was, and getting kind of confused on the tarmac.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where it physically was located. It was on tarmac with Marine One behind him, and it was pretty disconcerting. But I'm struggling with this. Zev, I really am. It is not in our national interest to lift up to the world just how unable to perform his job this president is. Right. And it is we are in an extraordinarily dangerous time in the world. China last week came to Anchorage, Alaska, United States, and berated our Secretary of State about how evil the United States was, essentially replaying Biden campaign ads at them. And it was an embarrassment to the world. China declared on our shores that we were no longer a global superpower, and our Secretary of State didn't answer. Sat there and essentially was cowed into giving some kind of weak response. We are in a very perilous time, and it's beyond the Christian kind of call not to be a jerk to people. I sit there, I look at this, and it's really, really scary in a lot of ways. And if our leader is so weak that he can't perform basic functions, it's really not in our interest to advertise that to the world.
Amen.
Although I don't know how we keep them from knowing.
Amen. You know, Rick, when it comes to being a straight shooter, you absolutely are the best at what you do, and so well respected on this program and by our listeners. The president of Americans for Limited Government, Rick Manning. God bless you, my dear friend, and enjoy the first full week of spring, and we'll talk to you next Monday.
Absolutely. You too, Seb. And everybody just pray for our country. Our country needs prayer right now more than ever.
Amen. Amen. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Just to really enjoy having him on the program and sitting back and relishing all of his remarks and sitting and dissecting everything that he has to say. Rick Manning, thank you very much. Appreciate that. We're going to have another dear friend on the program momentarily, and that's Frosty Woldridge. Stand by. Don't forget, I've got a couple of good words here for you at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner at 611 North Overland in Burley. They've got the new melts that are served with wavy cut fries like the chick and shroom melt. Oh, you got to try it. You got to try it. It's absolutely phenomenal. And they got new desserts, and they've got new menu choices that are just absolutely going to knock your boots off delicious at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner, 611 North Overland in Burley. Great staff serving you, and we're going to be there on Thursday, April 1st for the first of this year, Zeb's Lunch Bunch. Looking forward to it at Denny's Restaurant in Burley. Want to also give a great big shout out to some folks that really care about the coverage for you, your family, and your business, and that's Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Oh my, life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, all of this and more from folks that really know and are dedicated to serving you. Todd and the staff absolutely there every day serving you. Number to call, make an appointment, please, 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424, Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. You give them a call today. Really good folks. By the way, too, we've been telling you all about a great big March Madness that's going on at Redder's Showcase. What do you mean, March Madness? Well, I'm telling you what, they get ready for this every year. It's wild, and you can save a whole bunch of money at Redder's Showcase. Listen, I'm telling you, folks, stop in today. They've got over $6,000 in prizes that they're going to be giving away. Yeah, I'm not kidding you. Get in and register at the store. They're going to have the winners announced on March 27th, and you can save a whole bunch of money. They've got queen mattresses starting at just $199 and up to 12 months, same as cash. You better stop in and check it out today at March Madness at Redder's Showcase, 2611 Overland and Burley. Refrigerators starting at just $3.99. Great selection of freezers. Woo! Get in there today. March Madness at Redder's Showcase in Burley. Wow. With all the items that are going on in the news, there is no one more qualified to come in here this morning and talk about what is or what is not happening on our border. I'm serious when I say this, I would love to see this gentleman in a direct confrontation with the Department of Homeland Security so-called Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. I'd like to see them in a one-on-one debate. Good morning, Frosty Woldridge in Golden, Colorado. How are you?
Yes, and good morning, Zeb, and good morning to everyone listening to this broadcast across the country. As I was talking to Sean earlier, man, oh man, we are having our lunch eaten, and we are being taken to the cleaners like never before. And such people, such as Mayorkas up there, completely out of touch with reality and feeding the American people. Such just a line of baloney. Day in and day out. It is astounding to me as an American citizen that we have people in higher places serving illegal foreigners in our country, and we're paying for it, and the lie goes on. So, yes, good morning, sir.
Okay, you touched on so many points in a very short time. I want to ask you about this. I am outraged. And Sean, there's a little bit of feedback there. I'm outraged as a citizen of this country. And I listened to the news and found out that the Biden administration has taken over $86 million of Frosty Woldridge's, Zeb Bell's, and everybody else's money, and they're going to provide these illegal aliens the housing in hotels. Here we have homeless people living on the streets with no means of support or trying to shelter themselves from the elements. Here we have businesses that have closed because of COVID. Here we have families that are just wondering and worrying where they're going to get their next dollar to help buy groceries or clothes for their kids, and the Biden administration gives $86 million of our money to put these people up that are not citizens of this country in hotels. What is this?
You know, and this was reported in Newsmax, so it's verified, and it was on March the 21st in Newsmax. Biden spending $86 million on hotel rooms for illegals. And the crisis here, and I want to make this very clear for everyone to understand what we're facing. These children, unaccompanied, in fact, as I wrote this thing yesterday, it was over 5,000, but in the months preceding, it's been over 15,000 unaccompanied children who have been crowded into our country and now are getting dispersed throughout the country. And one of the things that I did was, well, when is this all going to end? When is Nicaragua and El Salvador and Panama and all of them, the Latin American countries or even South American countries like Colombia or Caracas, Venezuela, where they're fleeing because of starvation and all the nightmares that's going on over there. Here's what I found out. We're taking in all these people. They're fleeing their homelands in Central and South America because of poverty and violence and drug cartels and misery. Here's the problem. The population of Central America right now stands at 181 million people in 2021. Okay? Projections for 2050 show that Central America will jump to 223 million people. The current population in South America right now in 2021 stands at 443 million. Those numbers will increase to 779 million by 2050. That's according to CEPAL, CEPAL.org. You can look it up. In other words, those folks in Latin America will add 374 million people that need to be fed, housed, educated, medical care, jobs, and transportation. They cannot do it now, and they will not be able to do it in the future. So this refugee line is going to accelerate. And as long as somebody like Biden invites them into our country and somebody like Mayorkas is sitting up there saying it's a challenge but not a crisis, we, the American people, are not only being fed a line of baloney, we're paying for it. And that's what's happening, and it's only going to get worse because this spineless president has actually invited more illegal immigration into our country, and we are not going to be able to handle this. We're $28 trillion in debt as we speak, and as my article says in News with Views this morning, we've got over 100,000 homeless in major cities around the country right now that we're not doing a darn thing to save them, and they are veterans, and they are American citizens, and yet our tax dollars are paying $86 million for temporary housing for all of these illegals that are crashing our borders.
And there's another...
Doesn't make any sense to me at all.
No, there's another aspect of this that I want you to touch on with this Mayorkas, a man that I absolutely see as nothing more than a charlatan and a liar. The gag order to the media at the border. I know I've talked to some of the people that are in the media that have been down there, and they've been told no access to or photos of conditions in the facilities, no border ride-alongs with agents. All inquiries are going to be routed through Washington. Strict controls on sharing data about migrants in custody. In other words, whatever happened to the American free press, this is nothing more than a socialistic takeover by Biden.
You would be exactly correct. And the fact is, Joe Biden, who has lived 47 years in Washington, D.C., is a master liar. He's a master deceiver. He has gotten away with so much corruption. in the last 47 years, he wouldn't know a fact from fiction. It was stood him right in the face. And yet he is getting away with trampling on our First Amendment rights as a free country, that the First Amendment, free speech, is the number one reason that we are the most successful country in the world. And that man right now is in the process of squashing free speech.
You know, Frosty, you've studied the border. You've written books about all the illegal aliens coming into this country. And in your piece, you made a very, very important point that I want you to elaborate on. We're talking primarily about the illegal aliens coming into this country, but you made a point when you said what happens when Black Lives Matter evolves into Mexican Lives Matter, and what happens when our rule of law becomes their law of the most violent. And that was a very chilling statement that you had in your article.
Well, it is, and it's very possible. Again, for those of you who don't appreciate this, just because of one death of one of the most pathetic American citizens named George Floyd last year, who died of a fentanyl overdose, not because he was secured by the police and he was in the process of committing a crime in the first place, because his whole life from the age of 16 was a life of crime. He was a federal felon, you name it. He created the massive Black Lives Matter that literally cost businesses and lives $2 billion last year, and got to rampage all over the country, and nobody stopped it. In those cities where Black Lives Matter they were rioting, they were looting, they were literally killing people. Got killed because of them, and they don't like America. that you see the Old Glory stomped on the ground and burned in every Black Lives Matter riot that was going on. And they were allowed to do that because their numbers were so great. I don't know. Their whatever it was so great. But what happens when we keep importing all of these people from Mexico and Central and South America who have no affinity to the American way of life? The reason those countries are such failures, Nicaragua, El Salvador, and right on down the line, is because, corruption is a mechanism by which they operate. The drug cartels, the banking cartels, it doesn't make any difference. If it wasn't for the drug cartels, it would be something else, because that's their level of consciousness. What happens when we import enough of them into our country from Mexico? And Mexico's a failed third world country itself. What happens when enough of them are here, the MS-13 gang members that are bringing in the drugs at a pell-mell pace of speed? What happens when, again, our rule of law, which maintains our country, becomes the law of the most violent, which it did last summer with Black Lives Matter, and then we start getting Mexican Lives Matter, or Nicaraguan Lives Matter, or El Salvadorian Lives Matter, or Colombian Lives Matter, or Venezuelan Lives Matter. Do you see the pattern here where literally we are being infiltrated and separated, and the cohesiveness that makes us all Americans is literally being disintegrated right before our eyes.
Frosty, in all the years that you've studied this and have been on this program talking about the invasion of illegal aliens into this country, honestly, did you ever anticipate it would get this big, this fast, and this bad? And I don't see an end to it.
I had a very dear friend of mine, Mike McGarry, and he was from Aspen, Colorado, and we would go around speaking in front of audiences about what was happening to our country. And this was, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, I'd worked with him. And unfortunately, he passed away of cancer here about 4 years ago. And he thought, because Washington, D.C. was run by some of the sharpest minds in the country, and that we had leaders that were representing us as American citizens, and all that goes with the rule of law and free speech and everything that's all American. He thought that we'd get this thing solved. And I remember, I actually worked with Governor Lamb, and I remember meeting Victor Davis Hanson, and when he wrote the book Mexifornia. And there's so many books out there showing what incredible damage mass immigration is doing to our country. And he thought, well, we're going to get this solved.
But guess what? We didn't get it solved. We didn't get it solved in 5 years. We didn't get it solved in 10 years. We didn't get it solved in 15 years. It's been 25 years later, and I'm still on this program, and it's not getting solved because why? Because the senators and House members of our country and none of the last 5 presidents have solved it. And that's since 1986 with that immigration amnesty back then. It's gotten worse. And it's because your 2 senators and your House member and my senators and my 6 or 7 House members, they're not doing anything to stop this. They're not enforcing the laws. U.S. Code 8, Section 1325, it is a clear and present law that if you employ an illegal alien, it's a $2,000 fine. It's up to 5 years in prison. That has never been enforced, and that's why all of the people that are lying and cheating to the U.S. government are bribing the U.S. government, bribing our leaders, our elected leaders. That's why this thing's going on. And it's going to, you know something? I have no illusion that it's going to stop anytime soon, and that we are going to move from Black Lives Matter to Mexican Lives Matter, and our First Amendment rights, and certainly our Second Amendment rights, and the rule of law are being completely disintegrated in our own country right before our eyes. I mean, am I giving the facts, or am I telling it like it is? And of course the answer is yes, I am.
Yep, 100%. And last half hour, I had my dear friend Rick Manning from D.C. on the program. He's on every Monday prior to you. And I was stating that I have called some of my friends that live on the border in Arizona and Texas, and they are scared literally to death. They're afraid to leave their premise in the morning, to leave their home. They're afraid to go out and check their cattle. They're afraid without going out without strapping on a pistol or whatever. And they leave also a weapon in the house because their wife and the kids are in the house. People don't believe how absolutely fearful our citizens have to be right now because they're not getting any protection. This is insane.
Well, I can second that, because when I was down on the border with the Border Patrol, John Slagle took me, Gunny McCann took me to all the layup areas, and I saw the tons of trash, of all the plastic bottles everywhere, the human feces everywhere. These people coming into our country could care less about our country. They're coming for the bennies. They're coming for the welfare. They're coming for the free food. They're coming for the EBT cards. They're coming for the anchor babies. They're not coming here to support or defend the U.S. Constitution. And in effect, Judge Janine was down there on the border just this last week, and she talked to several of the ranchers, and they said, well, Trump was in office. We actually had, everything was secured because we actually had stopped the flow and so forth and so on, and the law was being upheld. But now they are absolutely, he had a gun on his hip. They got guns on their hips. And I remember when I was down on the border, they're taking the pictures. I've been down to the border 6 times now in the last 20 years. And you better well carry a firearm, because before you know it, you're going to be facing a bunch of drug dealers and mules, and they're armed. They've got weapons. They're going to protect that money that they're carrying on their back, which is either cocaine or methamphetamine or ecstasy or any and all of the drugs that they carry into our country. And I'll tell you, I'll have to admit it, Joe Biden doesn't know what he's doing. He is totally incompetent to serve as President of the United States right now, either because of his cognitive decline or simply because he is a frail old man at 78 going on 79. And we the American people, we're going to be paying for this. Sociologically, when Mexican Lives Matter starts burning and looting and going crazy, or MS-13 becomes so powerful that all of our kids are literally addicted to all of these drugs that are literally pouring across the border every year now, and that president and the Senate and the House of Representatives, they're doing nothing to stop it. That's the fact.
Well,
and I'm reporting to the facts. And anybody comes up with anything other than these facts, I'd love to hear about it. But what's coming in and what's happening right now, it's because our leaders, our elected officials, are doing absolutely nothing.
That's true.
Twiddling their thumbs and going to parties.
That's true.
Whether it's my 2 senators, Bennett and Hickenlooper, who are totally useless, or my House members who have not done anything, or That doesn't make any difference. All across the board, our senators and House members are not stopping this invasion of our country. That's a fact.
Last week, and I'll take that call in a minute. I'm down to the last 4 minutes of this program segment. But last week, Frosty, I talked to some people in Texas that are with the Texas government, and they told me this thing could be stopped in 24 hours. I said, what? They said, yes. Bring the guard to the border, orders to shoot to kill the cartel when they try to enforce bringing across all these illegals, and absolutely tighten this thing up like a cork going into a bottle. They said it could be stopped in 24 hours. Quickly, give me a response, and then we'll take another call.
100% agreement. We could stop this thing inside of deploying the troops to the border 24 hours, probably a week. We set up command posts every quarter of a mile,
yep.
And anybody that tries to get past the United States military, good luck with that.
Absolutely. Caller, quickly. We're almost out of time. Go ahead.
Well, quickly, the other day I got I'm supposed to respond to go to the Lincoln Day banquet in Twin Falls, Idaho, and it said we're going to have a celebration, and I wanted to say, celebration of what? But I'm going to go there, and I'm going to confront them publicly. Crapo, Risch, Simpson. I'm going to peel their hide. And I don't care. We've been put through hell after just 50, 60 days of this. Can you imagine being a person who voted for Trump, know that Trump won Arizona, know that he won it, and now you're suffering like hell down there, and you say to yourself, these people are not going to sit idly by in Texas, Arizona, elsewhere, and suffer through this. There will be consequences. I don't know how soon, but I just don't believe that the American people are going to sit by and tolerate it. They'll figure something out. Thank you.
Respond quickly, real short, Frosty, please.
Well, I certainly hope that the American people, certainly on the border, start responding, and it's going to end in conflict, and we're going to have some very, very serious problems. Again, last year in February, we only had 9,000 people attempted to cross the border illegally. In February of 2021, the U.S. Border Patrol counted 104,000 illegal entries. That should give you an idea of what we're going to be facing here in the coming months.
Yeah, but you said something, and I'll give you time to elaborate on this. You said without conflict. Frosty, I'm to the point right now where I think we're going to have some black eyes, because conflict is absolutely might be a necessity to stop this infiltration and restore law and order.
Yeah, it's coming, and it's coming as surely as the dawn. There's no question. Conflict is coming. That's a given right now, because the American people at some point are going to stand up, and they're going to pull their guns, and they're going to fight.
And this is our country. The last I looked, the home of the brave, land of the free, and it's being desecrated by an open borders. We've got people coming across the border, not just from the Spanish-American companies or countries, but also from China, Romania. There is an unlimited supply of people coming from all over, and we don't know who or what they are.
That is correct, and I think it was just last week, 9 Iranians.
Yes.
Iran, come on, Iran, a Muslim country, burns the American flag, is developing the atomic bomb, you name it, and these people are getting in because Biden is inviting them, and he's allowing them to cross over, and they're being released into the general public.
Absolutely.
We're going to face more terrorism, more diseases, and certainly more drugs, because this president is completely out of touch with reality.
Absolutely.
That is what's happening to our country right now.
Absolutely. Frosty, stay tough, stay strong, because we need more like you, and God bless you for taking the time to come on my program. Please look forward to next Monday, and keep in touch. Give me a call when you get a chance. I want to visit with you about something else. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Talk to you later today, then, Zeb.
All right. Thank you much. Frosty Woldridge tells it like it is, and that's what we all need to hear. What it is. Thank you very much. Holy cow, time for the weather, and the weather brought to you by Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company, and they've been providing accounting services to the Mini-Cassia area for well over 50 years. They know and they can help you. That's basically the bottom line. They can help you, your business, your family with the best of tax return preparation, tax planning, business consulting, financial statement preparation, retirement planning. The list goes on and on. They are the professionals serving you. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company, with offices in Burley and Rupert. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Chance of precipitation off and on as we make our way through this work week, and here is a look at your weather forecast for today. We are expecting partly to mostly cloudy skies. It's going to be a breezy as well. Winds out of the south-southwest at about 5 miles an hour. Should gust as high as 25 miles an hour, and we are expecting a high close to 47. Tonight, 20% chance of rain and or snow showers, mostly in the early morning hours, increasing clouds. Expecting a low of 29. That's a look at your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina. I appreciate the great job on the weather forecast. And it's brought to you by Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. You know, we've been working with those folks for quite some time. They are good at what they do. Absolutely. With offices at 1710 Overland Avenue in Burley and 625th Street in Rupert. They're busy right now. It's that time of the year. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Yep. The professionals. You get a hold of them today. Wow, a lot of things going on in the news, and coming up this next hour, we're going to have a gentleman that is the chief editor of the Morgan Report, David Morgan, and he's the author of the book called The Silver Manifesto, and he's going to be talking about the Biden tax increases, etc. Don't miss that, coming up at 10:06. Want to also give a great big shout-out to Patterson's Electronics at 421 East Main in Burley. Oh, Curtis and Lorena, they know everything about electronics. Let me tell you, looking for a home theater system, they know, and they can help guide you along the path of what to get, and everything with video surveillance cameras, car stereos and speakers, complete sound systems, all the TVs by Samsung, Sony, Toshiba, LG TVs. Believe me, they understand it all, and they're open Monday through Saturday 9 to 6. I urge you to stop in or give them a call, 678-6997. Patterson's Electronics at 421 East Main in Burley. These folks really know, and they can help you at Patterson's Electronics. Oh, my. Let's see. Oh, and don't forget at 10:30 this morning, Dog Days with Deb Hines, and we'll be talking to her over at Minidoka Animal Control about all the puppy dogs in this area. Want to remind you that, yes, Lunch Bunch is back. It is back, and we're going to be starting April 1st at Denny's Restaurant, and that's, of course, America's Diner and 611 North Overland in Burley. We're going to be there on Thursday, April 1st for our Back to Zeb's Lunch Bunch. We need you there. We're going to have door prizes, all kinds of prizes, fun things going on, and that's going to start at 11:30 on the 1st of April. Yeah, I know it's April Fool's Day, but this is the truth. Zeb's Lunch Bunch goes back to Denny's on April 1st. Right now, we're going to send it back over to Sean and go to the news. We'll be back in about 7 minutes. Oh, here we go. Kind of a nasty morning out there weather-wise. Chilly and some snow and some rain. And oh, boy, it's springtime. Zeb at the Ranch, and, of course, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you with the best in tires and service. Don't forget to our friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Before we have our guests starting off this segment, I want to remind everybody, too, about Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more. 459 Overland in Burley, beautification and comfortization of your home. Jeff and the rest of the staff, very knowledgeable staff, they can help you with everything. Whether it's new mattresses in their sleep center. Oh, my goodness sakes, they've got them all. And a great big sale going on for those mattresses right now. And window coverings, 40% off. When it comes to recliners, they've got the biggest and best selection of recliners anywhere. Go in and try one on. You'll find just what you need. All your floor coverings, your carpet tile, luxury vinyl plank, all of this and so much more at Lee's Furniture, Floors and More at 459 Oberlin and Burley. They're open Monday through Friday 9 to 5, Saturdays 10 to 4. I was watching a show this weekend, as a matter of fact, and they were featuring a lot of guitar music, and boy, if you want to learn how to play the guitar, there's a man right here in our area that took a hiatus away from teaching the guitar, and now he's back and really helping a lot of folks learn how to play the guitar, all styles of music on the guitar, and that's Marcus Meek Guitar Lessons. Contact him at 312-9093. He's located at 1459 Conant Avenue in Burley. Monday through Thursday, the lessons, 2 p.m. to 6 p.m., and he's also available to play at banquets and dinners. What a great musician, and he really can teach the guitar. Marcus Meek Guitar Lessons, 312-9093. Right now, let's go to the phone line, and we have with us the chief editor of the Morgan Report and author of the book called The Silver Manifesto. Good morning, David Morgan. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
It's good to have you on the program. First time I believe you've been on my show. Tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and the book, The Silver Manifesto.
Well, Zeb, thanks for having me. I'm past 60, been active in the kind of the activist movement for honest money from the time I was really late teens, early 20s. Studied true economics and the banking system on my own from a pretty early age. Kind of obsessed about money from an early age and determined, again, how the banking system works. So I discovered why, gold and silver were written into the Constitution. So I very early on gravitated to people that wrote about it in the industry, the original gold bugs, so to speak, and followed their work and started on that path myself well over 20 years ago. So I'm a circuit speaker on the resource conferences. I do more than gold and silver. I look at all the natural resources, but I specialize pretty much in the silver market. The Silver Manifesto was a very long, enduring test of my skills to keep persevering through it, but it's sort of the outline of it's more than an outline. It's really the Bible of silver, from silver as money, silver in history, silver's use, silver's industrial components, the manipulation of the silver market, the futures market, how to pick a mining company, and then the last chapter was called Beyond Silver, which means what does a monetary future look like and how can we make a better world for all of us with having an honest financial system, which is basically my mission statement, Jeff.
Let me ask you this, David. You made the comment with a couple of words that I wanted you to expand on. Honest money. What did you mean when you said honest money?
Well, what I mean is the system as it's set up now is a fiat system, which just means by edict or by command. And all gold-only standards eventually morph into a fiat standard only. So what happens once that takes place in the United States, it happened August 15th, 1971. Nixon did what's called close the gold window. You're on a paper standard only. So what that means is you can get something for nothing. In other words, the elite bankers can print currency at any rate they see fit with no repercussions whatsoever to them, but to the general populace, it dilutes the milk. In other words, the more water you add to the milk, the less vibrant it is. And it's the same thing with the currency markets. The more quote-unquote dollars that you print, the less each one is in value. And that's been going on rapidly, really, since 1971. It happened before that. And so what it is it's, again, the most important part is it's living a lie. You can't print wealth. If you could print wealth, Zimbabwe would be the richest place on the planet, and it's not. Venezuela would be filthy rich, and it's not. Argentina never would have had a hyperinflation that destroyed the faith in the currency. So we're facing that in the United States, and really more than that, we're facing it on a global basis. So this idea that one elite class has the right to counterfeit money, whereas if you or I did it, we'd be in prison. But they have a mandate by governments worldwide to have a monopoly on the money supply and do it as they wish, not as we wish. So honest money means gold and silver, something that can't be created out of nothing, something that people understand. And it goes back really centuries, but the most recent case in, I'll say not so much recent history, but documented history goes back to The Wizard of Oz. And The Wizard of Oz is a complete book. It's a huge metaphor for the Eastern establishment bankers going on a gold-only standard and taking silver out of the people's pockets as a monetary instrument.
David, let me ask you this, and I'm very blunt on this program. I do not like the Biden administration and any of their employees or their cabinet members. I do not like their tax, spend, and high fuel, high energy prices that they call their economic program. I think it's going to bankrupt America. How would you respond to what I just said about the economy and tax and spend and an energy program that absolutely will go out of sight? People will go broke. This year alone, agriculture, I think, is going to suffer in this country more than anything.
Well, I agree. I mean, I call it the pretendency. Really, what we have is a empire that's crashing. We have the end of the age of empire. The American empire has peaked. We're past the peak. And the powers that be are holding on as best they can and trying to convince everybody that they possibly can through a manipulated media outlet, and very few voices like ours get heard. We certainly never get heard in the mainstream. And yet it's crumbling. So I agree. We're also facing a couple of really important things that you mentioned. Let me touch on them. Food is going to be a major crisis for a variety of reasons. It's not just the supply chain, which is impactful to the food supply, but beyond that, it's really the amount of growing food, amount of meat that's been taken out of the system, crop failures, locusts, mice. There's a lot of things going on in the food supply, and if you believe in the conspiracy at all, even weather problems. So now you asked me about food, and the energy is even more important, because as much as people believe money makes the world go round, it runs on finance and the stock market and the bankers and all that, doesn't. It's part of it. It really runs on energy. And then it means oil. Without energy, nothing happens. You would never have an advanced culture like we have without the work of gasoline doing what it does. A barrel of oil represents something like 100, I think it's 1,000 man-hours or 15,000, I forget the number, but you get the idea. A barrel of oil is the equivalent of labor of a phenomenal amount. And you're only, paying $65. If you had to pay minimum wage on that, thousands and thousands of dollars. So the point is, we're hitting an energy cliff, Zeb. Peak oil is not a joke. Yes, some of us were bashed for talking about it, but the truth is the reason we pushed the peak, you might say, is due to fracking. And fracking is about the worst way to recover oil. It works, but it's not good for the environment. And I'm not a big tree hugger. Look, I like the mining industry. If you can't grow it, you have to mine it. We've got to be smart about how we do things, and the trade-off on that, in my view, probably wasn't worth it. Regardless of what I think about it, we're facing the cliff, and that means that energy is going to be costing a lot more and a lot harder to get. So we are getting into what's going to be probably the greatest depression we've seen since the 30s, and it may be even greater than that. It will be different, but it will be very, very impactful for just about everybody on the planet.
David, is there a way to stop the bus before it goes over the cliff? I mean, I don't want to jump on and play Thelma and Louise and go over the cliff and go into obscurity, but is there a way with some kind of common thought or thought on the economy that we can change this, or is the Biden administration just hell-bent on destroying what we have?
Probably the latter. I mean, I don't want to be a complete pessimist. I'm not. I mean, the human spirit is phenomenal. I mean, look what you've done with your life, your injuries, and your motivational speaking and everything. The point being that you have to be what this country is founded on, in my strong view, which means rugged independence. You've got to be able to do a lot on your own. You don't want to depend on everybody and everything to do things for you. the specialization does create a more robust economy if it functions properly. But really, a generalist is the best place to be, meaning that you can do many, many different things. So growing your own food, and also hedging in the financial arena if you're capable of doing so. In other words, I'd rather have you buy, extra food than put money into, let's say, a silver coin. But nonetheless, if you have savings and it's in the fiat system, you might want to rethink that. So you can mitigate it to some level, but you can't stop the major trend. The trend is in motion, and it will continue till it actually stops. In other words, in blunt, plain English, you speak plainly, and so do I, we've got to hit bottom. We've already hit the top. We're coming down, and we're a long way from hitting our bottom. Individually, yeah, you can mitigate the problem. You can prepare. You can be more independent. You can get off grid or partially off grid. There's a lot you can do, homeschool. There's a lot of things, but that won't stop the overall trend. You'll be victim to it, regardless of your own preps. You could fare much better. So hopefully I covered that for you.
Yeah, in your book, The Silver Manifesto, are you being explanatory to people as to how they can get involved in silver, how they can perhaps make it a part of their lifestyle to where they can protect themselves financially? Explain that, if you would, please, from your book.
Yeah, the book really is more of an academic read. I mean, anybody can read it. It is a little technical in some of the sections, and we do talk about how to get into the equity side, but I've always, from day one, advocated people start buying physical precious metals. And I'm not a broker dealer. I'm not a bullion dealer. I don't sell coins or bars or any of that. I advocate everybody start there. I think the first place to start is with real metal in your hand that you can touch. In fact, I wrote the 10 Rules of Silver Investing many years ago, and there's 10 of them, but I'll just read the first one because it's the most important. And this is, again, about 20 years ago. It's rule number 1, when all else fails, there is silver. No one likes to be a prophet of doom, but the simple truth is that silver will be the world's money of last resort. Should a severe economic collapse occur, leaving paper assets worthless, silver will be the primary currency for purchasing of goods and services. Gold will be a store of major wealth, but will be priced too high for day-to-day use. Mm-hmm. Thus, every investor should own some physical silver and store a portion of it where it's accessible in an emergency. So that's the bottom line. If you go to my website, themorganreport.com, you can get on our free email, and on the blog, if you hit the blog tab over on the right-hand side, there is a silver saving program. I am an affiliate of that program, but it's a good way to purchase it. Like if you're $100 a month, gold, silver, whatever you want. Yes, you can take possession of it, but it is stored for you until you accumulate like 20 coins. They can't just send you a coin at a time. It would cost more in postage probably than what the coin costs. But if you can accumulate, once you get a roll, which is 20 coins, they will absolutely mail it to your house, your office, wherever you want it.
We have a caller with a comment or a question. David, stand by. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Well, right now, the price of silver is, what, 27 or something like that? I don't know for sure. It's up and down a little. And I've had somebody tell me that they said the price of silver will go to $400. While I got you here, is that true?
No one knows where it will go. We all of us, honest, sound money and economists that are alternative to what the mainstream is, we all believe the precious metals are both going far higher in paper terms. Remember, an ounce of silver is an ounce of silver anywhere in the universe. It doesn't change. What changes is how bad the dollar is destroyed. So if you know how bad the dollar is destroyed, you got a feel for how high it can go in paper terms. But I just did a video called Is Silver Worth $400? And what I did was I showed back in the 1300s, silver was worth $400 an ounce for 200 years. So we've been there. Will we get there again remains to be determined. But I'm still very bullish. Look, when this system finally has its last gasp of air and it really starts to collapse with people everywhere realize what's happening, they will run to gold. And the rest of us will be running to silver. So I do believe that it's going to go far higher. What we really want to look at is what's its value. If it only purchases a little bit of goods and services, it's undervalued. When it purchases a lot, then it's overvalued. And I'll be watching that and, of course, commenting on it as we go.
When you say we're going to go into a depression, I mean, the American spirit, I mean, in Idaho, we still believe that we can, control our lives because we're smart and we're hardworking. And we live in, I mean, this is ag country like you ain't never seen. And so I'm going to tell you, the farmers, ranchers, dairymen that I do business with, you're not going to slow them down. You're going to have to crush them. And so I don't know that we might have some sort of a depression, but I don't know. How bad of a depression do you think it's going to be? I mean, who the hell wants to go through this? Nobody. I'll hang up.
Respond to the caller, please, David.
Well said. I live in Washington. I've been through a lot of Idaho. I have property in Idaho, in Kuski, Kamei area. The challenge has been all through most of Idaho, so certainly I agree. I mean, when the Great Depression of the 30s hit, not all places were equal. Basically where you're going to see the most problems are people that are the most dependent. Where you're going to see the least problems where the people are most independent. As you outlined, Idaho is probably one of the most independent thinking states of the 50. So no argument, but everyone's affected at some level just because of what happens in a depression. A lot of things dry up, high unemployment, people looking for work, mass movements of people moving from like the cities into the rural areas. So there's a lot that happens. But, individually, as I said, or tried to make clear, there'll be pockets or areas that are probably basically unaffected. I mean, the Amish probably will be ho-humming it, really, as long as they can keep their borders or whatever, if that's the case. I'm not sure it'll get that bad. But the point is, yeah, it's going to be different everywhere. It depends on what the situation is. But you're right. Couldn't agree more. Idaho's probably the best place to be, or one of them.
David, tell us about the book quickly, and then we'll take a call. Where can people pick up a copy of the book called The Silver Manifesto?
Not from Amazon, not anymore. If you go to Amazon, you're going to pay about $200. If you go to the URL, thesilvermanifesto.com, you can pick it up from me directly.
All right. We'll take one more call, and then we're going to be out of time. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Yes. Tell them to emphasize what it's like when they borrow money from the bank, that all they're doing is borrowing paper, and they expect them to pay it back with what they have in their pocket. Plus, taxation is a form of anti-inflation.
All right,Ll have David respond quickly. Go ahead, David, please.
Yeah, I can add on to that. I mean, the guy hit the nail on the head. Basically, it's, a system of for the bank, of the bankers, for the bankers, and by the bankers. It's really against the people. Tax rate is a way to maintain control of the system. The whole thing is about a control mechanism. I mean, they're pushing us. The system is moving toward a cashless society that's on a digital platform, which most of the quote-unquote money or currency is already, and they want it to be on the blockchain where they can track, trace, and tax everything you do. They'll know every place you go, what you bought, how much you paid for it, what your lifestyle is, and everything else. That's their goal. Will they get there or not remains to be determined.
Very interesting guest, and I've got to have him back. He is an economic and precious metals expert, David Morgan, the chief editor of the Morgan Report and author of the Silver Manifesto. Thank you very much for being on the program this morning, and I'll invite you back as soon as I can. Thank you so much.
Tip of the hat to you, Zeb. Thank you.
All right, sir. Thank you. Very interesting, especially talking about silver and what's maybe happening with the Biden administration with these huge tax increases and spend, high fuel costs. I'm telling you, I cannot and I will not lie to my audience. This administration, this Biden administration, the worst thing that could have happened to the United States of America. I want to remind you again about our dear friend, and he is Anthony at Save on Shells. You need a camper shell? I mean, you got to protect your fishing equipment, or maybe you've got special tools in the back of that pickup. Hey, check on the ARE camper shells from Save on Shells, 1827 Overland in Burley with Anthony. Now, the number to call, 312-1525. I'll say that number again, 312-1525. And if he doesn't have, out of the 90-plus camper shells that he's got there, one that'll match the paint on your pickup, not a problem. You can order it, and it'll come right down there to put on your pickup and look fantastic. ARE camper shells, the best that there is, and, of course, sold at Save on Shells, 1827 Overland Avenue in Burley. Again, that number, 312-1525. Get a hold of him today. I want to mention again, last week, Chuck Driscoll sent me this note, and I want to put this on this morning. The Vietnam Veterans of America, Post 1144, is going to have a dinner for Vietnam veterans and their spouses on Monday, March 29th. That'll be next Monday at 6 p.m. at the Rupert Senior Center. Now, that's at 702 11th Street in Rupert, and tickets are available from Chuck Driscoll, and the number to call for your tickets, 670-5183. Don't forget, that's going to be on Monday, March 29th. And the telephone number for the tickets, 670-5183. Be sure and get a hold of him today. Again, I've had some calls, people saying, are you pulling our leg, or are we going to have lunch bunch? Yes, we are going to have lunch bunch. It's going to be starting April 1st at Denny's Restaurant, and 11:30 is the starting time. Just like in days of old, we're going to have a lot of door prizes. We're going to have a lot of camaraderie and good times with people that we haven't had a chance to see for a long time. All of this at Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. Great staff, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Talk to Michelle, and they're really looking forward to it. Once again, it's going to be Zeb's Lunch Bunch at Denny's Restaurant on April 1st. April Fool's Day. Anything can happen, so we'll plan on seeing you there at Denny's America's Diner. We're going to take a break and send it back over to our main studio and come back with Dog Days with Deb Hines and lots of other things in the last half hour. Right now, Sean, take it away.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KVAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb.
Oh, my goodness sakes. I'll tell you, it's Monday all day. It's going to be Monday, the way things started off this morning. Anyway, we're going to move on over to Minidoka Animal Control right now and have a visit with Deb Hines. Good morning, Deb. How are you?
I'm good, Zeb. How are you doing?
Hanging in, hanging on, just like the cat at the end of the knot. Listen, we got a little bit of feedback there and a little delay, so I don't want to jump on you. But, Deb, I was going to ask you, in regards to Minidoka Animal Control and all the dogs that you see and everything, what other precautions can owners take other than collars and maybe address on the collar? Is there anything else people can take as precaution to protect their pets if they get loose and they can check with you to see if they're found or whatever?
Yeah, we actually do a chip. It is not a GPS system. Everybody thinks that it is. It's not. It's just a big number, and we all carry scanners. All the vets here have scanners. And what you do is you can scan them, and it'll bring you up a number and then tell you what company to call, and you can call, give them that number, and find out who the dog owner is.
Now, how expensive is that for the owner?
It's not that expensive, and the ones that we have are a free lifetime registration for the dog.
I see. Is it something that is becoming more popular, or is it in its fledgling stages? Tell us about that.
Well, I think it's more popular because all of mine are chipped, because that dog tag can get removed. This
right.
cannot, because it's under the skin.
I see.
So it's implanted in the dog so that it cannot be taken out without surgery.
Deb, do you think
if the dog gets out of its collar and you have it chipped, we're still going to find the owner.
Yeah. Do you think that most dog owners, and I was thinking about this last week when we had a stand-in for you, and I forgot to ask this question, but do you think that most dog owners or would-be dog owners really understand what they need to do as owners and what kind of a step-graded policy they got to make sure about the shots, they've got to maintain good food and water, they've got to make sure that they have adequate housing, especially in the winter months, etc. It's like with anything in the livestock business, you better know what you're getting into before you get it.
Exactly. And especially people that get pups. You know, I swear, don't adopt a pup unless you're ready to raise another child. End of story. We have older dogs that are already trained. Puppies require, you go through the terrible twos when you want to kill them. You go through every stage with a pup that you go through with a child. And you know that. You do. You want to just strangle the crap out of them because you can't take it anymore. But that's what you sign up for when you get a baby. Whether it's four-legged or two, it matters not. They're babies. And they have to have you to teach them what is acceptable and what is not acceptable.
Well, that leads me to the next part of the conversation. Are there, and I've asked you this once before on the program, are there adequate sources and or people around the area where you can go to for basic dog training so the dog is going to respect what you as the owner want and or say?
Well, right now, we used to have some in this area that trained, but I don't know if they're doing it anymore. So right now you've got PetSmart. What's that other name? There's another one around that does training too, and I can't remember their name. I can't even think of it.
Okay. I got to tell you what happened down in Arizona. Now, you know Dan Kidd from over to Declo, I'm sure. And Dan has had some outstanding dogs at some of the cattle dog trials, etc. And in 2 minutes, I gave him Festus for a little bit of training, and that stuck with that dog to right now. I can just shout a command like down, and old Festus hits the dirt. And he did it so easy, and there was no pain involved, nothing. But Dan is an excellent dog trainer, and I'm sure there's more people around like that.
Yeah, and that's true. And Dan is a super trainer for cow dogs.
Yeah.
Absolutely wonderful. He could do other dogs, too. I just don't know if he wants this as a business and have me send people his way or what. But, yeah, he's excellent. And I've known Dan for years, too, so I'm like you. He blows me away, and his dogs are phenomenal.
Well, I'm not saying that he wants to have the business, but I'm just saying someone of his caliber that had Festus in control for no longer than 2 to 3 minutes, and all of a sudden this dog's whole persona changed and he started paying attention. So those are the kind of people that are excellent dog trainers, and I think people need to find them.
Yeah, and honestly, I think a lot of these guys that do train, men and women, if you ask, can you help me, they're going to help you.
Right.
Because, I work with my own dog, but I'm training her to be something different because I don't want her to be a cow dog.
Sure.
And it takes time, and I get frustrated, and there's times I want to just choke the living crap out of her, but she's a pup.
Yep.
I got to get over that, I've got to get to remember all of that. Puppies are difficult.
Yeah, it is, but I'll tell you what, it's rewarding when you have something like little Festus, our little corgi, that all of a sudden just started paying complete attention to what he should do and shouldn't do. And believe me, when you're on crutches like I am, I'm not good at chasing dogs.
I'm not good either, but that's because I'm quite old. No, I'm just kidding. Well, there's nothing that upsets me more than having to chase a dog. I want to just... You've got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
When I call, I want you to come to me because I get to be the adult for a minute.
There you go. I do. What are we going to feature this morning, Deb?
Well, I've got puppies coming out my ears.
Okay.
I don't know what kind you're looking for, but I have 8, I think.
Oh, my.
I've got some border labs. I've got some mixed breeds. I've got one that looks like it might have a little healer in it. I've got little people. You name it, I got at least one.
Well, let me ask you this, Deb. You said you got puppies coming out of your ears. I mean, what were they, turned in and put in the drop box, or were they rescued?
Drop box babies.
I see.
Every one of them.
And will most of them be like average size, small dogs, or will they be larger dogs?
I've got some that are going to be medium dogs. I've got one out here that looks like it's he's a Rottie Cross. Yeah, and I'm not sure if it's with an Australian Shepherd or what. It's got that hair.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's going to be a medium-sized dog, but I think he's going to be broad. You know what I mean?
I do. Okay. And with the puppies, I would imagine, now tell me if I'm wrong and elaborate on this a little bit, it's probably harder to find homes for puppies than it is grown dogs. Am I right or wrong?
Depends on the day. There's days that I can get pups out of here and well-trained, house-trained dogs I couldn't give away.
I see.
It just depends on what people are looking for. And I mean, it's weird because I'm like you. I would take it a well-trained adult over a pup any day of the week, but that's not when some people want to train them themselves or whatever. But yeah. It depends on the day and the dog.
Now, it's a shame that we have all these puppies, and that leads me to ask you about Wagon Tail's Rescue with the spay and neuter programs. Please give them a shot this morning if you would.
Absolutely, because we are in that season, people, and we are happy to help with the spay and neuters. It's $25 to the owner of the dog. All you have to do is either call here and we'll mail you an application, or you can come pick one up. It's a 4-liner. We call, set your appointment up, you take your dog, you get it fixed, you pay the vet $25, and you walk away with a very vetted dog.
Absolutely.
Anything. Puppies, as long as they're 6 months and older, we can do it.
All right.
And we're happy to help do that. In fact, I've got Deb from Wagon Tail sitting in here helping me doing some other stuff today, and, this is our big thing. In fact, that's going to bring me to another thing we got going, thanks to Wagon Tails. We're doing a Fido Fest next month. Fido Fest or Feast? Fest, I'm sorry. We're going to offer space for the kids to color and make things, adults, and everybody coming is going to be able to taste some delicious junk food, something I can eat.
Okay.
Anyway, and it's totally 100% going to the spay and neuter program for Wagon Tails. Because not only do they help you, the public, but they're very, very wonderful in helping me at the shelter to get this done.
All right, now,
we can get these dogs fixed and into a home.
Where is it going to be, and what time, and what's the admittance fee? Give us all that information.
Okay, it's going to be the 22nd of April. It will be at the Burley Inn Convention Center.
Mm-hmm.
It's $10 a person or $20 a family, and that's the other thing. We're going to have a little area set up for the children to do some crafty things. We'll have just, it's going to be fun. We want to do a fundraiser to help us with this. Deb's very good at getting grants, but, she can't keep getting grants every day of the week to do this. And we're averaging about 1,000 or better a month in spay and neuters.
Oh, my.
So the program's working. If you give us a chance, we'll help you.
Well, we'll keep plugging the Fido Fest on April 22nd at the Burley Inn, and it sounds like a lot of fun, a lot of good food, too, and we'll be talking more about that. You know, Deb, I appreciate you taking the time this morning on behalf of Minidoka Animal Control and coming on the program. Any final thoughts about those puppies before I let you go?
Just if you're looking for a dog that you can take now and make your own, come on in. I've got little people and I've got big people, so okay. I can probably cover just about anything or any breed that you want. I promise.
All right, Deb Hines.
And I'll help do other things too.
All right. God bless you for your time this morning, and we'll talk to you next Monday. You take care.
You too, Zeb.
All right. Thank you much. She is really, really committed to the safety and just taking care of animals. And I just appreciate her. Deb Hines with Minidoka Animal Control. Check with her. And she's got all kinds of puppies over there, and they need some homes. So give her a call, please. Right now, it is time for the weather. And the weather brought to you by Scarro's Meats. Don Scarro and the crew at 331 North Road, Jerome. Telephone number to call, 324-7657, or you can go to scarrosmeats.com, and all the delicious meats, I mean, for your gatherings and your picnics and everything that's coming up. Oh, my goodness, they've got all the tri-tip, and they've got all the different flavored of bacon, and they've got all the different sausages and the bratwurst. Oh, yeah, it is delicious. All the meats from Scarro's Meats over in Jerome. And right now, here's Gina with the forecast.
Chance of precipitation off and on as we make our way through this work week, and here is a look at your weather forecast for today. We are expecting partly to mostly cloudy skies. Going to be a breezy as well. Winds out of the south-southwest about 5 miles an hour. Should gust as high as 25 miles an hour, and we are expecting a high close to 47. Tonight, 20% chance of rain and or snow showers, mostly in the early morning hours, increasing clouds. Expecting a low of 29. That's look at your weather for Zeb at the Range.
I appreciate it, Gina. Thank you very much, and brought to everybody by Scarro's Meats. 331 North Road, Jerome. Again, that telephone number, 324-7657. And it goes without saying, the delicious meats from Scarro's Meats are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Calls are welcome and appreciated for the remaining time of this hour, and I'd like to visit with you about any subject that you want to bring up. So the lines are open, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. As many of you know, I spent almost 50 years in the rodeo business as an announcer, and then also being involved with the sport on board of directors, etc. And I really get upset when people that are absolutely without any knowledge about the sport and the caretaking of the animals make wild, abrasive, and brash statements that are absolutely lies. There is a woman by the name of Constance Marino that started a petition back in New York City to stop the Cowboy Channel's Pro Rodeo event that they were going to have there in Madison Square Garden, and made allegations that are absolutely a lie. I'm not about to sit back. I'm retired from the rodeo business. But I'm not going to sit back and let someone that does not know what they're talking about, and I'm going to try to send her an email after this program and invite her on this program if she has the backbone, and debate with her over the far-reaching comments that she made about the rodeo business and the care of the livestock. As I said, I was in the business for almost 50 years. And to make statements that there are horrific acts of violence towards defenseless, terrified animals, and there are so many fractures and other extremely serious injuries are common occurrences, all of that is a pack of lies. And this rodeo that was being planned back in Madison Square Garden was going to be a return to some of the old days of great rodeos at Madison Square Garden in New York. But this woman, Constance Marino, and some of her staff have been hell-bent trying to stop the event, and it had It has been postponed, I believe, until possibly in the spring of this year. We're going to see what happens. I'm going to be talking to Patrick Gotch at the Cowboy Channel and see if they've selected another date. But, you know, these statements are absolutely malicious lies. The livestock in the rodeo business probably and very possibly the best cared for livestock of anywhere in the world. Anywhere in the world. Talk to John Growney in California, and he had, of course, the great matchup back years ago with Red Rock and Lane Frost. I had an opportunity to announce 3 of those great matchups with that bull, that very famous bull, Red Rock and Lane Frost, and then talk to Swanee Kirby and his family. I can remember vividly when Hiram Special was voted the best bronc at the NFR, and it was an old horse when he won that award. Swanee Kirby just got down on his knees and started crying. He was so blessed to have that horse. Talked to Kristen Vold, that took over for the late, great Harry Vold Rodeo Company in Colorado with a breeding program of all the horses and the bulls, and the care and the love and the nurturement that goes with owning all this livestock. And then you take someone like this woman, Constance Marino, that starts a petition to stop any and all rodeos because, in her words, they are far worse than anything any animal should suffer, and she doesn't know. But unfortunately, people pay attention to her and absolutely follow her when she is blind like a lemming and doesn't know what she's talking about. And she said at the end of her little deal, animal torture and terror is not entertainment. I agree. But in the rodeo business, the use of the animals is not abuse. And I get really upset when I hear and read and listen to people that don't know what they're talking about spout off like Old Faithful in Yellowstone. This woman should be apologizing for her remarks and try to inform herself and be more intelligent about what she doesn't know. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'd like to hear what you have to say. While I'm waiting for your calls, I'd also like to acknowledge our dear friends and our major sponsor, and that's, of course, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations celebrating and highlighting right now a great big spring tire sale. Oh, boy, they know you're going to be hitting the road. They know you might be going down to Tucumcari, New Mexico, and visit Aunt Martha and Uncle Fred. Well, you need the best and safest of tires, and they're having a big spring tire sale. All the tread designs, all the sizes for all vehicles. You stop in and see them today. And don't forget, too, the best in brake service. Boy, if your brakes are kind of iffy, you better have them checked out. They've got highly trained brake technicians to help you. Front-end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries, all of this and more. But above all 7 locations with the best in service to you. James in Buell, Dan on Pole Line in Twin Falls, Lane and Rupert, Mike and Jerome, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, the Twist family in Paul, and my buddy Trent on Overland in Burley. Nobody better. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. You stop in and see them today. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
Have you ever watched the Mountain Men on TV?
You know, it's interesting you should ask me that, because just last week I saw about, 15, 20 minutes of it, and that was about the only time I've caught it on television.
It tickles me because nobody has really complained that I've heard of. And, I mean, these guys, they'll chase a cougar through the mountains for 10 miles, and then they get it trapped up in the tree, and then they call the dogs off. That's all. They just run chase it away from the herd of cattle. And I keep saying, shoot it, and they let it go. But then in another sense, they'll go out and they'll go hunting deer. They'll hang that deer up and gut it out hanging there by the horns. I don't know how they get by with some of that stuff, but it's quite an interesting show. We watch it more regularly than we used to.
Dwayne, nobody is calling for any abuse. There's an A in front of that. Abuse of animals. There is a usage of animals. There's a necessity to hunt animals, and there's a necessity to control numbers of animals in this day and age. And I get really upset when people that don't have the IQ of a roller skate blade trying to tell people that are in the livestock business how to take care of their animals. And that's where I get upset on this program.
Well, that program in Mountain Men, this fellow was down in, he was on this island where the bear, I forget the name, Kodiak Island, Alaska, and it got dark on him, and he had his dog and him in there, and the dog was barking at critters all around him, but he never did get attacked by a bear. But it's an interesting show.
Well, I'll have to tune in and I'll have to watch it. Right now, I'm out of time, old buddy. I appreciate it. I got to run. Thank you very, very much for your call. God bless you, man. Thank you. It's good to hear from you. Yeah, that's going to wrap it up and put it away for us today. The Bible verse that I want, actually 2 Bible verses that I want to read today. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 16 and 17. Always be joyful and always keep on praying. There you go. We always say at the end of the program, the way things were, the way things ought to be. And the 4 words that mean the most to me, in God we trust. We'll be back tomorrow. Got all kinds of things going on. Dan Kish, Dr. History, you name it. It's going to be here on Zeb at the Ranch starting at 8:06 tomorrow morning. You have a good day. Be careful out there. It's chilly. We'll see you tomorrow morning.